Oh, the weather outside is frightful.
But inside is so delightful.
It's Christmas in July.
Let's review.
Let's review.
Let's review.
What a trend.
Season 10.
Bum.
Bum. That's right, folks. Welcome to Christmas in July 2023. Dragon, this is the penultimate, right? Or do we have one more after this? Or two more?
I believe this is the penultimate, yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So, Dragon, I want you to know, my friend, I want you to know how much research I put in to trying to wrap my head around this damn episode. Because, my God, Dragon, I feel like you kind of threw me into the deep end of the Arrow lore on this one. So, Dragon, I watched two different recap, like Arrow after show recaps. One of them was After Buzz. One of them was the great John Campea. Yes, John Campea was actually used for research purposes this episode. And Dragon, I listened to both of these after shows that were both around 40 minutes, 2 times a piece, along with 3 times watching this particular episode. I probably should have watched The Scientist at least one more time. But Dragon, suffice to say, most of my day has been put into just like, okay, let's see if I can get into the headspace to kind of understand what the hell's going on here. Suffice to say, Dragon, I'm not as annoyed by that because, with the pitch of Arrow has always been like, it's kind of fun for me to sort of dive in and be like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'll give it my best shot. Dragon, what I'm mildly annoyed by is that there is very, very, very little Christmas in this episode. There's a couple little nods here and there, but I don't know, man. This might hold the record for the least amount of actual Christmas stuff that we've got in a Christmas in July segment.
Most likely. Yeah. And it was a toss-up. The first we had 2 Arrow episodes we could have picked between, really, for this, and I did offer you the option. You did.
I know, and I'm regretting not going with it because I remember you offering me the option that was more Christmassy or the one with the Flash, and I was like, well, people like Grant Gustin Flash, and the Ezra Miller Flash is kind of leaving a bad taste in people's mouths.
Now,
so we do have some Barry Allen stuff this episode. That's literally the one thing I can kind of pull my bearings on.
Now, I won't lie to you. I did misremember one key detail that would have cinched this for Christmas for me. Now, again, I knew this was primarily going to be like the whole Christmas Carol 3 Ghost thing, hence the title. But I misremembered, because it's been forever since I've gone back to Arrow, I misremembered the end of The Scientist, I thought was in this episode, and I thought it was set at Christmas, because it was a little party setting.
Oh, okay. I could see that. I could see that.
So I thought that scene was at Christmas, and that's where the episode ended. But then, as I was watching this episode, I realized, oh, wait a minute, we do the direct link up, and there's no way we could have that Christmas party and the direct link up, and of course, it wasn't even Christmas. So
oh God,
yeah,
that's funny.
So,
and of course, with that episode, I'm being thrown into the deep end of like, what the hell? Like his mother apparently may or may not have murdered some people, and she was on trial. And okay,
yeah, his mother's a piece of work.
Yep. So yeah. Okay, we got Kogias and Richard's Victims in the comments. He said, Kogias says, Green Arrow is one of my least favorite DC heroes, but Deathstroke is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Richard's Victim says, Green Arrow is kind of like Hawkeye, but not unless, but not useless. I'm sorry, useless, but not useless. I was like, okay, I don't, anyways, I wasn't expecting John Campea to be mentioned. I mentioned John Campea quite a bit, Kogi.
More often than I'd like to, but he does.
Legolas from Lord of the Rings is the better Green Arrow. Hey, I mean, he does wear green, and he is good with a bow, so... I stopped being a Flash fan when I learned Flash ruined my chances of getting a Batman Beyond. Oh, yeah, that's still a sore subject.
Yeah, it's bad. And don't
I kind of saw the writing on the wall, honestly, and stopped watching about midway through season 2. I was like, yeah, this is not going to get better.
Well, he means the Flash movie.
Well, no, I know that's what he means, but I'm just saying, as far as the Grant Gustin Flash goes, it started out so strong. Season
Just
1 was
abandon
really
it
good.
after
I'll give you that.
Here's where you stop watching. Okay, let me tell you exactly where you stop watching the Grant Gustin Flash.
Oh
Okay?
God, this is like Walter White's like perfect moment that I should have died.
Exactly. Just stop after the first episode of season 3.
Okay.
And then here's the thing: just stop there, and then if you want more, all you got to do is watch the big compilation of Reverse Flash clips, and you'll be fine. That's all you need.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, well, let's dive into this one, Dragon. I mean, I assume you have some background for me.
I mean, more like
I'm
context.
going to try my best to retain it. Like I said, I've really been trying to get into the headspace of, because that is one of the things that I do have nostalgia for around Arrow, is that I might not have been watching Arrow at the time, but I was watching John Campea, and I remember John Campea being very hyped for Arrow and doing after shows and even having Stephen Amell on from time to time. So, Arrow was always kind of part of the Campea all the way back from the AMC days. So, I do have nostalgia for John Campea, ironically covering Arrow, even though I never really watched that coverage. Anyways, go ahead.
So, yes. So, Arrow, of course, with the CW shows, especially Arrow, you'll kind of notice this pattern, especially within the Arrow show, in which the mid-season finales, given where they kind of end up during the year, are usually Christmas episodes more often than not. And the running gag is that Oliver Queen is cursed to have never a Merry Christmas. As in terrible.
Well, I mean, I'll say this much, Dragon. I was kind of giving that episode of Monk we covered. Like, I was like, okay, there's some Christmas. There's not as much as I would have hoped. No, that episode was chock full of Christmas compared to this one. I'm eating my words on the Monk thing.
So again, the pattern is like during the mid-season finale, all the big stuff for the season happens, but usually it's going to be like a dramatic cliffhanger sort of thing, and that also kind of times out to be, hey, it's also the holiday season.
Right.
Now, so the Arrow show, I mean, Arrow happened. It was 2012, so this is very much DC making their play for while Marvel's dominating the big screen with the Avengers, like DC's making this ambitious new, like they're doing their version of the Avengers on the small screen. Basically, Arrow served as the Iron Man for the CW superhero shows. It was kind of a testing ground, then it kind of took off like wildfire, and then it kind of spun off into the Flash. We introduced him. Well, the second part of his introduction is this episode. Really, the origin of the Flash is in this episode, as we get to later.
I mean, we solidly introduced Barry Allen throughout throughout these 2 episodes at the very least.
That's what I'm saying. Like, these 2 episodes were literally his introduction to it was the beginning of it. That's what I'm saying.
I think was Harrison Wells even cast at this point?
I mean, most likely not. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I think it's cool that we have like a Harrison Wells name drop, and we don't even, and Kavanaugh's like not even in the mix at this point.
Exactly. So basically, the idea is, CW's making their Warner Bros. Making their play for a cinematic universe of sorts. I think grand scheme that was kind of the idea. Guggenheim, Mark Guggenheim, he was basically like, hey, we're gonna. Let's do a show and see how it works out. And they're going to try and really ground and do basically kind of like Green Arrow meets Batman. Essentially, was the idea for the Arrow show. Like, what if we did a more grounded, kind of grittier, like Nolan-esque meets CW, kind of take on the Green Arrow character. Which
I was going to say Nolan and CW do not mix.
That's what
that is not really that big of a Venn diagram in terms of style.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Tiki. So the first if you watch the first season of Arrow, it actually is like a play. Like, let's do kind of a Christopher Nolan take. Basically,
well, honestly, the first season, I mean, I guess this is kind of Nolan-y because it's playing with timelines. But the one thing I do know about the first season that we do get some of here is the whole island flashback stuff.
Okay, so that's in every episode. They always have the flashback in every episode.
Which, of course, very much reminds me of Lost.
Well, that's the direct inspiration. So they're literally doing Lost, with the whole.
That's great. They're not even trying to hide it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So regardless, so the idea is like the first season was very much like them taking a stab at okay, let's just do kind of a Nolanized, kind of somewhat of a Nolanized version, basically Nolan on a budget, it's on a TV budget, and but it looked good. And then basically by the time we get to season two, we get the introduction of Flash, and this is them kind of making the transition to okay, if we wanted to broaden our universe, we're gonna have to brighten things up a little bit, which then led to we were able to do bigger comic book stuff as long as we kind of lose kind of the grounded kind of tethered thing, so we can have a guy who you can believe is running its incredible speed.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so in terms of season two, how it goes down, long story short is that the first season ended with this earthquake plot, basically a little nod to No Man's Land from Batman. Earthquake happened. Oliver Queen it ended on a downbeat. Oliver Queen failed his city, and he felt really bad about it. And season two is rebuilding in the aftermath of all that. And the big flashback kind of story this season is how we have Slade Wilson, who was his buddy in the first season, going evil on him. How he goes from Slade to Deathstroke. And we introduce Sarah, who big reveal season two. Oh my God, she didn't die like we all said she died throughout the whole first season. She's alive, and she's the better Black Canary.
I'm sorry, Dragon. Don't you mean Sarah?
Yes, Tiki, I mean Sarah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Also, we really shook things up in season two by when we have the island always kind of on the present, like in the first season, and all the flashbacks. But as the seasons go on, we kind of throw like an extra little layer in there for like the idea is like for the first 5 seasons of Arrow, you have flashback structure. It's tied to what happened during the 5 years on the island.
Uh-huh.
So season two is like we added a boat, Tiki.
Oh my God. Season 2 and Lost, they added a hatch.
That's what I'm saying. So we had the boat in season 2 and Dr. Ivo kind of the.
Do they eventually do like flash forwards because that was the big card up Lost sleeve after 3 seasons?
There is a flash forwards. They did in the last season has a flash forward structure. So yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, let's see. So I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was the last. It was either 7 or 8. I think it was 8.
Oh man, Lost season. The final season of Lost did this weird thing where it's like the flashbacks were like kind of like a parallel dimension or something, and it was like, okay, guys, you've flown too close to the sun at this point.
Anyway, like I said, this episode's quite the milestone. We introduced the Flash, big stuff. There you go.
Okay, really quick, Code Geass says Harrison Wells was played by the guy that played Ranger Smith in the Yogi Bear film, so I keep having Yogi Bear flashbacks when Wells shows up.
Yep.
Yeah, Tom Cavanaugh is delightful, man. Dragon and I are big Tom Cavanaugh fans.
Huge fan of Tom Cavanaugh.
Especially when he plays romantic comedy leads in obscure early 2000s Christmas movies.
Yeah.
All right.
There is another one of those. Not Snow.
I'm not surprised, honestly.
Not Snow. There was another one we never talked about, which was, I believe it's Trading Christmas. I think it's what it's called.
God. That one actually sounds vaguely familiar.
Yep. All right.
Okay, Code Geass says Stephen Amell has technically been in 2 superhero franchises because he also was Casey Jones in the 2016 TMNT film. I'm going to have a Casey Jones comparison to one of these characters, and I hope I'm right. It's about as close as I could follow with one of the characters in the mix here.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard's Victim says, a boat? God damn, this is what makes television so captivating. If I remember correctly, I think Fear the Walking Dead, the original Walking Dead spinoff, the big twist with the second season was that it was going to be on a boat.
Yeah.
Okay, one more thing, Dragon. One more important thing I have to get off my chest, and then we'll get into the episode. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm on a boat, motherfuckers. Take a look at me.
See, that's why I emphasized the boat, because I figured it would be my associate here would have to make the boat joke.
All right. I'm done. Let's go into the episode.
Okay.
I do like how the episode it starts very like right away, like Green Arrow has been shot with something. I forget exactly what's going on here.
Well, I'll tell you what. Okay, so last episode ended on the dramatic kind of like almost two-parter, big flash introduction two-parter sort of thing where he's fighting essentially Solomon Grundy before he becomes full-on Solomon Grundy. He gets knocked into a crate full of just random kind of like syringes and chemicals and stuff, and basically he gets injected with like a bunch of essentially it's blood coagulant, which fits in. The whole thing is that Brother Blood, the bad guy this season, he has blood-related crimes, so he gets injected with a coagulant in one of his warehouses, I guess, and he's in bad shape, and they're unfortunately our guys here they have first aid training, but they're not exactly, like doctors are really skilled at it. So they have to call in their new friend, Barry Allen.
They do have a scientist friend that they just met. Yes,
they do.
That's close to being a doctor.
So this is actually interesting, Tiki. So it's the way he's met all of his friends has been like in kind of emergency medical situations. See, in the first season, and they mentioned this later on. They're kind of when Arrow's, and Oliver's upset when he's calling Felicity out on this. So, when he met Diggle, Diggle was there from the beginning, but he was keeping it a secret from Diggle. But Diggle was shot with curare by Deadshot, and he had to save his life, so he brought him to the Arrow Cave. So that's how he got looped in on
the whole thing about him getting getting on Felicity about the secret identity thing. I will admit that did provide some interesting kind of fandom conversation in those two after shows. It was quite a spirited debate if he was in the right for that or not.
Yeah. And then you have on the side of Felicity, he as they're going to mention a little later on, his mother shot him, so he was in bad shape. And
I love that we get that information after the whole reveal last episode for me that the mother was apparently on a murder trial or some shit like that.
Yeah,
and it seems like he's the only one. Oliver's the only one who's defending her for the most part. But she shot him season 1 apparently. So all I can say to that, Dragon, is that Oliver Queen Boy must be a very good son.
All right, we'll put a pin in it. I'll tell you about the mother. I'll do the condensed version of the mother.
Oh God.
Okay. Point being, last episode introduced Barry Allen, and the Green Arrow got knocked out. He's a blood coagulant. It's in a system. He got knocked out. Essentially, a Mirakuru version of Solomon Grundy. Barry Allen, he learns the secret. He has to save him, and then basically he uses rat poison to uncoagulate the blood, which again is an inventive solution for our inventive forensic scientists here.
Also, we're really, really going to be stretching for tropes in this episode, so I am going to make a big stretch. Okay, are you ready?
All right, what do you got?
So he mentions that Oliver's blood is thick like maple syrup. Dragon, maple syrup, pancakes on Christmas morning, trope.
I was backing away.
I told you it was a stretch. We don't have much to work with, Dragon. I don't know what to tell you.
No, here's a stretch. You know what the colors of Christmas are, my friend?
Oh God, what?
You got red
green
for
red.
You got red for the blood. You got green for the arrow.
Oh God. Richard's victim says, "Okay, this is all cool and all, but where the hell is the boat?"
We don't see the boat in this episode, but there is a boat.
No boat this episode. Well, fuck it.
They mentioned the boat.
All right, I guess that's good enough.
Anyway, so let's see. Point being, Oliver is on the table while this is happening. He's hallucinating Shadow. Shadow is the girl from the island. Anyway, so Oliver, he comes to, he's very upset that Barry Allen knows. And this is really funny in retrospect when you go back to this, because back when Arrow was
if I'm remembering correctly from some of the crossovers I've seen, like Oliver and Barry become basically best pals after this.
Well, yeah, so the idea is like the fill-in for Batman and Superman in the CW versus before we eventually introduced Superman, then we did with a hatchet job on Batman the CW.
Yes.
Which I'm still upset about, but we're not going to dwell on that right now. The fact is,
Batman is a fascist, Dragon.
All right.
I'm sorry.
point being, before we actually got the guts to introduce Superman and even had a Supergirl, the idea was that okay, so Arrow and the Green Arrow and Flash would be the Batman Superman kind of dynamic in the CW verse. So they start off as like a little standoffish here, and then they become the best of buddies. So anyway, so he's very upset that Barry knows. It's really funny in retrospect when you look back at this, the fact that the most annoying thing with the Flash is that everyone finds out who the Flash is. Like constantly, it's like he doesn't bother keeping it. Like, let me tell you who I am. Like, no, but it's called secret identity, Barry. What's wrong with you?
Right.
It gets so old.
And yet they really drew out the Iris thing. I can remember.
Yeah, that's the thing of like, oh yeah, why can't you tell Iris? Oh wait,
right. It's like the one person that he probably should tell.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she's in danger. She has a potential boyfriend who can run at super speed and save her.
Was Iris in the Flash movie, by the way?
Yeah, she was.
That doesn't sound enthusiastic.
It's not. She's really just a lot of wasted screen time there.
God.
Just like, hey, if only you could go back in time, Iris. That's a great idea. That's pretty cool.
God, okay.
Long and short of it, that's it.
Fair enough.
Tomato cans.
Sounds like George Clooney Batman might have more screen time than Iris.
No, it's not that bad.
All right. Anyways.
All right.
Code Geass really quick makes a fun point. He says, I love how Slade is so popular that he can be a villain for multiple DC franchises, including Teen Titans, Batman, and Arrow.
Man, technically his own, so it's 4.
Whenever I think of Deathstroke, I just think of Robin and Teen Titans, just the whole like Slade.
Even good.
That's
Teen
my
Titans
go-to.
Even the good Teen Titans, right?
Yes, of course. I mean the good Teen
Titans. I just want to make sure because you're right. The whole the Slade. Did we for Haunted Hijinks? Did we cover the haunted episode of Teen Titans or no?
I wanna say we did. It sounds familiar. I'd have to check the books, which YouTube's new system is making that harder to do. But yeah. I digress.
Anyway, point being the whole identity thing. It's kind of funny looking back on it now. Let's see. So then we have kind of this fun.
We did the Avatar, the blood bending episode of Avatar, right? Have we done that?
Yes, we did. Yes.
Okay, good.
Anyway. So we have this fun, we have this fun recap of season 1.
Yes, for people like me watching.
Yeah, well, I was really mad at Felicity here. It's just like, your mother shot you. Just to Barry, like the newcomer, the eyes in. Basically,
what's funny is that this dialogue is probably put in for people like me, but at the same time, it honestly just makes people like me even more confused. I'm just like, wait, what?
You're literally in Barry's shoes right now, Tiki.
Right.
Your mother shot you? Okay, so what happened here is the first season. I don't know how many people agree with this, but I think I don't like the mother inside. Moira is in a really unlikable position in season 1 because she's
based on that information that I just got.
Well, let me put it to you this way: Laurel's unlikable in season 1, but the mother is very super hypocritical. So by proxy, unlikable.
Okay.
The whole thing is that she's the bad guy of the season, yet she's still trying to have the moral high ground. It's like, and Oliver has to find this out at a certain point. That is,
and like I said, Dragon Oliver, by and large, from the way he interacts with his mom in these couple episodes I saw, seems like a loyal, like ride or die son.
That's when she shot him, he was not mad at her. By the way,
oh my God,
he wasn't. He's a good son.
I love it.
But that's the thing, though. So it was. And again, this background era was good, folks. I was just showing you. But they took some big swings the first season. They did. All right. So anyway, so the point being, he's mad that Felicity did this, and Oliver makes this really great point. I like it. I love it. Of course, Stephen. How do you take this first time you really seeing him in an extended way? Or how do you feel about Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow?
Well, I mean, I have seen him in other things. I did watch the TMNT movie he was in. So I do think he's a decent actor. I honestly think Grant Gustin has a little bit more natural chemistry, just based on what I've seen. But then again, I've watched a full season of The Flash, so it's, that might not be a fair comparison.
Yeah.
I think he's okay. I think the one thing I struggle with Amel is the whole flashback structure where, and this isn't his fault at all. It's just, it's just the fact that I've just not really seen a lot of the episodes, so it's hard for me to get a grip on, what his performance is like during the flashbacks versus, him being back home.
Yeah, there's definitely a change in how that plays, where he.
Yeah, and like I said, that's obviously nothing to do with the show itself. It's literally just me not being caught up with it.
Yeah, like the first season, you really see it on display where he's like very much a man on a mission. Where in the flashback,
I'm tempted to watch the first season. I think I'd probably enjoy it.
That's what Tiki again. For Arrow, just binge the first 2 seasons. You'll be fine. It's all you need.
Yeah, that's what you keep telling me. Yeah,
that first season, it's really great because he's on the island. He has no idea how to fight or anything. He is completely helpless at the start of that show on that island, and you see him like become, like what he is now. So, point by this where Oliver shouts at her, I did my homework on both of you before. Basically, he had him as like a backup, as a contingency, and letting them in. But he checked them out first and foremost before he did that. Barry Allen knows nothing about this kid.
Mm-hmm.
So Barry like calls him out on like how he's being kind of a jerk to Felicity and everything, which again is the whole Batman Superman dynamic. And of course, I guess to the Campia point, I think. I think Oliver's a little justified, but should check.
Well, I think Barry sums it up pretty well. He's like, "Look, I won't call the cops. I honestly don't think Barry's that upset about the whole not trusting him thing. I think it's probably understandable, but he does say like you should be thanking her because she was the one that basically saved your life, and you're being kind of a jerk."
Yeah. It's also another thing, too, when you look back, Felicity in these first 2 seasons, very lovable, great character. Then, of course, later seasons, yeah.
I've not heard great things about the women in the show just in general, honestly.
The best
things. Laurel was honestly a name that I have heard floated around as far as like in that sort of like Betty Draper, Skylar White kind of mold.
Let me put it this way: season 1 is a solid season with an arc, but Laurel is kind of the weak link.
Right.
However, season 2, big upgrade. They bring back her sister, and her sister is the good Black Canary.
Nice.
So she's really good. She's like the best of the female characters. So good they put her in the Legends of Tomorrow show, in which we then burned her out. But she was still good.
Right.
Anyway. So, so let's see. Moira, the mom. Moira is Tiki, wake up. We have
yes, I'm awake, Dragon. I'm awake.
We have our first trope.
Oh my god. Our first of like literally like 3 or 4.
First of a handful of tropes. Look at it. It's Moira. It's decorating the tree.
Glorious tree. Soak it in for as long as you can because the whole house isn't even decorated. It's just the tree.
Yeah, and then we also have the callback to Christmas is Past.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, just the whole conceit of the Ghost of Christmas Past thing. Although I will say, Dragon, if I have one nitpick about it, I don't necessarily think they commit to the structure of that as hard as they could have.
Well, no, I meant like her. I meant like her mentioning a Christmas that we haven't seen, or at the very least.
Okay. Right. Gotcha.
You're right. We do kind of Ghost of Christmas Past in a sense, but I mean, the fact of like, maybe we shouldn't have the Christmas party like last year, given last year, they're mentioned in the first season, basically Oliver, bad stuff happened to him. He's like, oh, look, I desperately want to have a Christmas party to get back into the swing of things, and then bad stuff happens. That's kind of what she's referencing here.
Uh-huh.
Or just the bad Christmas. I guess bad Christmas luck might be a trope. Like a series of bad Christmases,
Richard Victim, I'm not going to read all those comments, man, but you're having a fun time with the whole mom shooting you thing and Barry just not being okay with it. I'm sorry, I can't move on from this information. That is too funny. I hope the tree didn't try and shoot anyone.
All right. So let's see. Then we have Roy. Roy is Roy's hiding out in Thea's hiding her boyfriend Roy in her bedroom.
Thea is Oliver's sister, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. So the idea is,
good. I'm glad that I was able to catch that because it's literally like she's like, I didn't want mom to see.
Yeah, so essentially it's kind of in the comics, Green Arrow has a sidekick named Speedy who becomes Red Arrow / Arsenal. And essentially, the way they approach it in the show is that they did both iterations of the sidekick. And one is his sister, which is Thea. He nicknamed Speedy,
Mhm.
and the other is Roy Harper, who is traditionally in comics. He is the actual Red Arrow, et cetera, et cetera. He's usually the guy. He's the heroin addict one. That guy.
So Roy Dragon, based on the very little screen time I got from him, I kind of take it he's maybe a little bit of a Casey Jones type.
He's introduced a lot like Casey Jones. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad that I had my finger kind of on the pulse of that.
He's got an arc, he kind of starts off as just kind of like
Where it's like he wants to help Green Arrow, but he's kind of in over his head a little bit.
Oh, for sure. He's an aspiring vigilante. That's absolutely. Eventually, he does become Red Arrow and everything, and so does the sister. They both become, they both get costumes and everything.
Well, the sister literally just becomes Speedy, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, that's
Also, was Speedy the sidekick that got all fucked up with drugs?
Well, that's why I just said heroin.
Yes. Okay, got it. That one very special issue.
Now, to be fair though, they don't make him a drug addict, but they do what they did at the end of this episode. So he does have an addiction that was from an injection, for That's the thing. So they do something tantamount to it, but we'll cross that bridge later. So anyway, so she's hiding Roy in a room. Who the vigilante shot him in the leg to deter him from the vigilante lifestyle.
Now, I'm not going to lie, Dragon, that is one of the plot points in the last episode that I thought was a little bit questionable.
What?
No, I don't want you following me. Fuck off! Arrow to the foot!
Pretty much. Leg.
My leg!
So I do love, you got to admit, the comedy here is really great. Here's Oliver feels bad about, maybe I overreacted on that one. He was trying to scare him straight. That's why he did that. It's like, it's like he wanted to show, like, hey, don't do this. I don't want to glorify this. Okay, I already got a helper in Lance. I don't need another helper. Okay, no.
Basically, in other words, I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Pretty much. It's a more painful version of that lesson. So he removes the arrow, and I just love the conversation with Dig on the phone, where he's like, it's a long story, Dig. We'll just come over. All right, let's see. So I love this is really funny to me. The fact that the comedy of like Elvis trying to rationalize and defend the vigilante. Well, maybe if he did, he did to protect him. You don't know.
They're just not buying that in the slightest. They don't even take a moment to try and justify that.
And meanwhile, Shadow then haunts Oliver. So again, she's very much in the role of Christmas Past. Now, technically, all three of them kind of fit within the Christmas Past category.
So my issue with this, though, is that I feel like, and this is kind of nitpicking the whole Christmas ghost of, the Christmas Carol ghost logic, but I mean, then again, we did get a movie that was really knee deep in that sort of lore last year.
We did.
But I guess I'm kind of a little bit like, I don't think it necessarily ties into the Christmas Carol ghost as much as it could. Just because, we don't get an initial encounter kind of setting up the whole you will be visited by three ghosts thing.
Well, that was the poisoning. That was like the rat poison thing, though.
Sure, I guess.
Near death. He has a near-death experience, hence the ghost.
And then also, I just kind of feel like the ghosts kind of pop in and out a little bit too. Like for example, we see Shadow like in the hospital before we actually see her here, and I kind of feel like that sort of just messes with the structure just a little bit, but that's being kind of nitpicky though.
Yeah, that's kind of like the more artistic way of like, hey, it's instead of not just the rat poison, but like, hey, he's hallucinating, we've introduced Ghost.
Yeah, Richard's Victims, I think it's fair to say that this episode has a few less tropes than Full House. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. Well, it has to balance out somewhere.
Right.
All right, anyway, let's see. So after that, he's hallucinating Shadow, and Shadow basically says, he encourages him to hang up her father's mask. So again, her father is the one who trained him and gave him the whole bow and arrow gimmick. Anyway, so basically you give it up so your loved ones don't die, much like she died. So again, basically Oliver's manifesting a lot of his guilt in his arc for season 2. He's basically season 2 is him going from vigilante to hero. That's kind of what the arc is. And you kind of glean that in this episode.
Sure.
All right, so we have our flashback, which basically sets up like what the heck. And again, you're watching the scene. What the heck happened to Shadow and Slade? What happened there?
So Dragon, this actually kind of feels vaguely like a very famous Walking Dead moment where it's Negan's first introduction and he's got everyone lined up and he's like, I'm going to kill one of you and I'm going to eeny, meeny, miny, mo to find out who gets to die. And then that's where Stephen Yeun's character gets killed.
Yep.
Very iconic moment from The Walking Dead. Arguably the most iconic moment.
I believe it.
This is maybe a little bit more rushed. I mean, I'm not saying it's directly trying to take on The Walking Dead in that way, but still, it's just the whole thing of like, you're gonna choose which one I kill.
You're not wrong. It's a little rushed, but again, they've been building up like into the flashbacks. Like Ivo is a sick puppy, so it's just kind of like He feels her. He trusted the blonde is Sarah, but he trusted Sarah, and she was
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, so point being, Slade was gravely wounded, and they injected with Mirakuru to save him, but seemingly he has expired. Seemingly, Ivo.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like up until this point, I'm assuming that we haven't seen Slade in the present day yet.
No,
because because that's what they were kind of talking about with the after shows. That was kind of the big talking point. Dragon was like, "Oh my god, I didn't think we'd see Slade in the present day until like season 5. This is really a big jump in the story here."
Yeah, because they set up like there was like a Deathstroke thing going on because we saw the mask in like the pilot. So there's always a question of like, okay, so Slade will eventually become Deathstroke, but the question is like, what the heck is he in modern day? So anyway, so we injected Slade with Mirakuru, which kind of parallels the whole, like in the comics, he was part of a kind of a government super soldier program, which made him, the formidable guy that he is. So it's kind of a little shortcut to that. Ivo, he's been looking for Mirakuru. He's found it on the ship, but now he wants revenge, so he gives Oliver the big choice: Sarah or Shadow. Which S, man? So anyway, then we're kind of setting that up. We're going to cut back to that later. Meanwhile, Brother Blood and Grundy, aka the Brother Gold. So again, Cyrus Gold. You remember, like in Gotham, we obviously had Solomon Grundy. We had Butch, kind of become.
I remember Butch Gilzean becoming Solomon Grundy. I remember the name Cyrus Gold coming up. I don't quite remember how that tied in.
Yeah, Butch's real name was Cyrus Gold.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Remember, they did like the autopsy on him briefly. Well, they had what's Cyrus Gold or whatever your name is. Like the hand.
I still think that was a little bit of a waste, just because Butch Gilzean was like a genuinely really good original character for Gotham.
No, I agree, but it was like I never would have predicted like that's how we get Solomon Grundy. What do you know? And I mean, good. I think Butch was a mobster.
Well, that's the thing, Dragon. You probably never would have predicted it because it very much felt like a last minute kind of writing decision.
No, I agree.
It did not feel like something that was like organically in there from the first season.
That's true. By the same token, though, it's like, hey, Solomon Grundy is like a mobster, and everyone always forgets that. They just think he's like a zombie Hulk. They forget like what led him to be that. So it's like, hey, we have a mobster set up. I don't know. Kind of regardless. Here we're doing kind of the Arrowverse take on Solomon Grundy, which is a more grounded version of Solomon Grundy. So it's a big guy who's been injected with Mirakuru, so he is unstoppable and Hulk-like, kind of like Solomon Grundy, but he's not pasty white yet until the very end. So anyway, so Brother Blood is played by Kevin. I'm going to butcher his last name, Kevin Alejandro. I think that's right. Kevin Alejandro is Dan on Lucifer. He's such a diametrically opposite character, and this is the big thing introduced him before Lucifer ever came around.
You got your package, Dan.
Yep. No, it's serious. It's the fact that this guy. This is like my introduction to this guy, and then he was like all over the place in Lucifer. Like, oh look, it's Brother Blood from Arrow. This guy is range. What do you know? Anyway, he's so menacing here compared to what he was there. So, anyway, so we have those guys kind of running amok. Let's see. So we go back to the Arrow Cave, the Quiver, as it later will be called. He's Oliver's hallucinating. He's sweating. Well, Barry's asking, like, what are you hallucinating? Are you sweating? Yep. Let's see. So we have this thing of like he tells Felicity he's seeing Shadow. Like, oh, Sarah, Shadow was more like sounds like more like Fantasy Island. Yeah. Let's see. So Barry again, pretty flash. He's geeking out about the vigilante and everything, and the whole like the Arrow Cave works. The hood's green because you were in a forest environment. Called it. And he asked the big question of why no mask. And this one that actually is important. He asked why no mask, and they always have this offhand thing. The biggest criticism of season one is everyone saying, "Why has he got green? Why has he got spray paint on his face?"
That was another thing that the after shows were very much celebrating Dragon. Like, finally, no more grease paint. Thank God.
The grease paint was dumb. I don't care what anyone says. The grease paint was dumb, but I do like we had a really good rationale for why he didn't go for it. He needed a mask that wouldn't constrain his movements when because if he goes around and does all his flips and everything, the mask is going to flip with it. He'd be in bad shape.
You know what my rationale for that would be, though? Like the logic I'd use to confront that?
What?
If he's going to be so aerodynamic and like jumping around and stuff, isn't he worried that some of that paint's just going to like wash off or smudge?
I mean, it's kind of like it's caked on. I don't know. It's kind of spray paint on there. He's got the hood giving him some shit. I don't know. All right, it was a dumb idea.
Richard's victims, I'm just going to shout him out because this is a decent point. The whole Batman is a fascist thing is funny because it's always said by people who just want to be smart and say something deep about Batman, but know nothing about Batman. I agree with that in theory. I think the problem with it in terms of Blue Beetle is honestly, Blue Beetle, like Dragon, I'm not sure how you feel about it. Blue Beetle to me just looks like just very painfully mediocre. Like, yes, I know the guy who plays Miguel is in it, but that doesn't save it for me. It looks like literally every other superhero movie that's ever existed. And then B, that's not the joke to end the trailer on. Like, that's not the joke that you want to have the audience, like, taking away from the movie with. So, all right. Anyways.
So
I'm hallucinating about sweating. It's the worst option. Oh, God.
Anyway. So basically, Barry's already getting ideas about the compressible micro fabric and everything to help him out with, like, getting him a form-fitting mask and everything. So, Barry is going to look into the blood thing to see if he is there's something happening with the rat poison. Maybe he's hallucinating because of that. Meanwhile, Oliver and Diggle, they have this. By the way, Diggle is named after Andy Diggle, who's like a writer on Green Arrow, so it's kind of a nice little nod. Anyway, so Oliver and Dig here, they're going to do recon on Cyrus Gold. Meanwhile, Brother Blood, he's putting the moves on Laurel.
Yeah, I barely know Laurel enough to like recognize which one is Laurel, so I'm sorry.
Anyway, so I've actually met Laurel in real life.
Have you?
Yeah, she's nice.
Also, I'm pretty sure we passed it. I just want to point out I really appreciated Barry Allen's whole geek out moment of like, haha, you did train in a forested area, hence the green.
Yeah.
Also green, Christmas colors, trope.
Yep, trope.
I'm doing the best I can here.
Yeah. All right. So Thea and Sin, they're chasing the Brother Blood lead. Look, I'm not going to bore you with the details on Sin. Just know that Sin's a little helper who wants to take down Brother Blood. That's all you need to know.
That's pretty much. I pretty much got that from the episode.
Yeah, there's kind of a nice little connect they have, but I won't bore you with it. It's not important. So, meanwhile, Diggle finds Solomon Grundy, the whole little nursery rhyme poem about Solomon Grundy. It has like out on the table. Let's see. So he gets caught by Cyrus Gold, and he gets the crap beaten out of him. And he flees because to avoid getting killed or beaten to near death, like Oliver was previous episode. Meanwhile, we have they're going to need backup, so they call in Lance. So Lance is kind of like the Jim Gordon vaguely J. Jonah Jameson the first.
I very much got the Jim Gordon vibe from this guy. Yeah,
I met him too. This is Paul Blackthorne. He's a really cool guy. I like him.
I feel like even visually, he's a little bit like a more blue collar James Gordon. A little bit, I think, without the mustache, obviously.
Yeah. So Lance actually, so in the first season, he's a detective, but for what happens at the end of the season, he got demoted to beat cop.
That's kind of funny because it reminded me of the whole thing with Monk, where it's like I wasn't sure if him being demoted was like a part of the season storyline or a part of the whole storyline.
Yeah, this is actually like basically Lance had to team up with Green Arrow, and his superiors found out about it, so they demoted him. So that's essentially what's happened here. But he was very, very anti-vigilante in the first season, so he didn't trust them at all, and he was going after him very hard. And they kind of changed his tune on, and they kind of becomes a Batman Gordon dynamic, very little Year One-esque. Anyway, so we have this thing where he asks, and their dynamic has gotten more personal because he basically the Green Arrow helped to reunite him with his daughter he thought was dead. And it was Sarah, so they kind of anyway. So is this about Sarah? Like, no, sorry, it's not about her. No, it's something else. Tells him about Cyrus Gold stealing technology from Queen Consolidated for the Big Brother blood plans, and he's gonna need help on this. Like, why come to me with this? Because I've been compromised.
I do like the visual here where he says he's been compromised as he's seen the hallucination.
Yep, it's good direction. I'll give you that.
I actually think this is probably the best visual in the whole episode, where he's like I've been compromised. He's like trying to fight his demons, literally fight the things inside his head, and he just runs away. He just goes, like fires the arrow, goes down the kind of bungees down the side of the building, like, and he's almost like fleeing from his own mind.
Yeah, and he's a little haunted by it. He's catching his breath there. So, but yeah, he's of course, not exactly a graceful bad exit, but he pulls one.
Exactly. That's what it did feel like. It felt like an ungraceful bad exit.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a flashback. We continue here where Oliver is forced to choose between, given the sadistic choice by Ivo, and he has 5 seconds, and on impulse he saves Sarah, who he loved at that time. That was the whole reason he was on the boat and everything. He snuck her in on the boat, and that's why she was there. It's a whole thing. Point is, he ran in front of the gun to stop her getting shot, which seems poor Shadow, who just Slade loves Shadow, so that's why he's really bent out of shape over Oliver.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. So Shadow gets killed. Bam. Meanwhile, Laurel drops by. Why does she drop by? Well, sorry, I should say. We have a mini trope here. She drops by to kind of check in with Thea and the gang who are looking into their friend, but little seasonal Christmas balls.
Oh my God! Yes, Christmas balls. Oh, that's how desperate we've gotten with searching for the tropes.
But no, seriously, it's like rich. It's like the rich Christmas decorations.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. All right. So, and then she reflects on the last Christmas party with Tommy, their poor departed friend.
I guess Christmas party trope, reflections on previous Christmas parties.
Yep, that's the one I said earlier. Yep.
All right.
Okay, let's see. So the lead dried up. Max's killer. There's no lead on Max's killer, which again is basically his brother blood. They're trying to link it to brother blood, who Laurel is not convinced because she's kind of somewhat dating the guy right now. Go figure. Meanwhile, speaking of relationship, Barry and Felicity, they had a little tease at their relationship because, the idea, you kind of saw in the last episode too, is that, Felicity and Oliver they're not an item at this point at all. It's just kind of like where they're kind of looking at each other a little bit. But Barry and Felicity had chemistry. They got along. A lot of people, the fans really wanted these two crazy kids together, believe it or not.
No, I can honestly see it. I see the chemistry. Honestly, Dragon, low-key, I think they have better chemistry than Barry and Iris did in the actual show.
Yeah, which many people have also pointed out. Yeah. Yeah. So, basically, he likes Felicity, but he says, hey, I get it, billionaire, vigilante, it's hard to compete with. Well, you should date him.
Right.
So,
And then he also mentions that he knows what it's like to to have feelings for someone and those feelings not be reciprocated.
Now, I'm convinced what happened there is that they had an idea of what they wanted to do with season 1 of The Flash with that, but they did not. But they were playing it coy just in case it didn't go that far, because this is like a backdoor
Well, I mean,
pilot.
to be fair, I do think that pretty much sums up the Iris thing from season 1.
No, that's what I'm saying. It does. I'm saying I think they're hinting that okay, if we do get a show, we do that with Iris, but in case we don't, he's probably talking about Felicity.
Gotcha.
It's like a backdoor, the whole backdoor pilot thing of like, okay, if we do get a show, we have enough there for Iris. If not,
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we also set up Wells. We set up Harrison Wells in the particle accelerator launch.
Yeah, I do think that is really cool because, of course, Harrison Wells is going to be like the thing that will keep the Flash on life support for as much as it can be on life support.
That is true. All right. Meanwhile, Lance recruits his Captain Lucas. So yeah, Lucas was his partner who got his job when he got demoted. So he got.
So Dragon, from a direction point of view, this is probably the weakest part of the episode for me because it's like we see these cops going into action and then we just see them in the hospital and we literally don't see the like what led to them being in the hospital. Like feels very rushed.
We did see them get attacked.
But very briefly, it was hard to kind of put the pieces together.
I think that's more of a pacing thing than a direction thing.
That's probably a pacing thing. You're right. Yeah.
Anyway, well, we can't glaze over this. Okay, we had another Christmas trope.
Okay, what is it? Oh yes, you're right. The not going Christmas shopping thing. The whole the Christmas shopping. Shall we call it Christmas shopping tension, Dragon?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have Christmas shopping tension here. Says you're gonna have to call Jeannie. You're gonna have to call my wife. Tell her I won't be able to make Christmas shopping. And of course, one of the cops is actually a mole for blood, and he basically tips Cyrus off, which is why it turns into an ambush. Also, we have we have a little Christmas small talk. Where Barry's like, "So, what are you doing for Christmas?" And Felicity reveals that she's Jewish.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, maybe do we call it like a dab of Hanukkah?
I would say that's a trope.
Okay.
Jewish representation in the holidays, menorahs and whatnot. That's a trope.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, if it's a trope, if we counted that for the stupid, the what was it? The oil lamp splash pad in The Simpsons.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So Oliver returns because he wants a little kind of moment to himself because the house is getting a little crowded with Laurel and everyone showing up. So he does one of the big kind of visual sells of Arrow, where he's doing the old tennis ball trick. Where okay, I'm going to bounce the tennis ball, I'm going to shoot Arrow into it, I'm going to blow off some steam. But when he does it, someone shows up.
Oh yeah,
it's Slade.
I have no idea who this person is. Well, I mean, I do. Obviously, like out of the 3 ghosts that do show up, I have an idea of who this person is, but still, it's like okay, like. Anyways,
point being, Slade, his friend, debatably, his brother in a sense, Slade. This guy who basically made him the man that he is, like taught him how to fight on that island. The guy who helped him survive and he went through all these experiences. Slade shows up, and apparently Slade is, as far as Oliver knows, Slade has died.
Right.
He's very convinced that he's dead, and he says like, "What's wrong, kid? You look like you've seen a ghost." Should also be mentioned, they made Slade Australian for this show because they got Mal Bennett to play him.
Right.
I mean, ultimately, it was a good call. Kind of shook things up. It worked. So we have the warehouse ambush with all the cops and everything. Meanwhile, back to Oliver and Slade. They catch up. We set up the Slade's Slade's strength and everything as he breaks the arrow. Let's see. So I'm just saying, when you're watching the show for the first time, it's like, oh man, he just really snapped that arrow like a twig, and of course that's revealed later, like he gets super strength by the 3rd act of the episode. So
I don't really have a lot of context for how impenetrable those arrows are supposed to be. So
no, they're sturdy metal,
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So let's see. Anyway, so they're catching up, and then basically we have again all of Oliver's kind of doubts and like everything of like any doubts of him ever becoming a hero is kind of voiced by Slade here again. The interesting thing is like if you look at the whole Ghost of Christmas Past, Present, Future, it's kind of a Rorschach test for how you perceive Slade and Tommy, because Shad is very much the past love that he lost and everything. So there's one thing. Now, with Slade, he is revealed later on to be alive, so you could say.
I would say Slade is maybe Christmas Future.
I know. I argue. I'm with you. I argue Christmas Future, where it comes down there, because he will be. I think it's Future, but shaken up, so we get Future in the middle, which is interesting.
And then Tommy probably represents the present guilt that he was feeling, I guess.
At the very least, I think present goal is probably the better way of looking at it. Once the whole. I mean, I don't know if you sat through the intro.
I feel like that's probably the biggest stretch out of the three of them, but.
Well, no, it's not. I don't think it's that much of a stretch because at the end, the end of the new intro for season 2 and everything is like, hey, I'm doing this to avenge my friend Tommy.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So based on that, he's trying to be a hero like Tommy wants.
That is true. Yeah, that is kind of his present goal for sure.
So that's how I look. So I'm with you. I think we're simpatico in terms of it seems like he's the Ghost Christmas Future, but he doesn't know it yet.
I mean, I do think that is a clever play on it, just because, obviously, like, he is very much going to be like a ghost that is going to come back and haunt Oliver Queen in Oliver Queen's future.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much literalizing that sort of story trope, which I think is kind of cool.
So he's calling out the whole, like, you're making up for your father's sins. That was a charade. You're atoning for your own sins. Not a hero, not a friend, not a brother, which ultimately is, I mean, for the show, period, it's kind of Oliver Queen's arc to become all these things. It's kind of like the growth that he has from where he starts to where he ends. He becomes, Diggle becomes kind of his honorary brother in a sense. The two of them become the closest you'll ever see. Anyway, so he gets into a fight with Slade. When you think about this in real life, Oliver just really throwing himself around these cases.
I feel like that it's not a trope. It's not a Christmas trope, but I feel like it's a fun comedy trope, dragging the whole idea of like you're having a fight with yourself, and it just cuts, and you're just like literally like punching air.
Now, I really would love to think that this scene here with Slade, this whole fight, is a reference to that excellent Teen Titans episode, Haunted, where he is fighting the ghost of Slade, and it's pretty much like this. I like to think that's what's happening here. At least that's the inspiration for what's happening here. Anyway, but again, Stephen Amell's acting is really good here. I tried to save you both. So you couldn't save your city. You couldn't save us, and you couldn't save your city. So the island didn't make you strong. It revealed you to be weak. So let's see. So tossed him through
that honestly sounds like a very Lost quote right there.
Yeah, tossed him through the glass case and the costume. All right. Meanwhile, let's see. Okay, so we have Laurel and Blood here. Sebastian Blood. They're going Christmas shopping. Tiki. They've gone
yes. Oh my God! Finally, some action, Dragon. Some action.
Yes. Yes, they've gone Christmas shopping, which then gets a damper put on it when the call comes in and her father's in the ICU.
Yes. Like, again, it's like this episode will like tease you with Christmas bits and then get pulled away really quickly.
Yeah.
Richard's Victims does point out in the comments, he says, honestly, at this point, this isn't Christmas in July. This is just July with a guy that thinks Christmas is just sort of neat.
Pretty much, actually, yeah.
To balance things out, next Christmas in July has to be most sickening tropey episodes of all time. I want the episodes to literally vomit tropes. Well, you know how we would do that, Richard's Victims? We'd literally just cover 6 Full House Christmas specials.
God.
All right.
Yeah, let's see.
Because seriously, Full House, that one Christmas episode we did cover with Full House was just basically like, here are all the tropes.
All right, let's see.
Would you
So,
say family emergency around the holidays, like someone being in the hospital around the holidays, is a trope? Does that count?
yes.
All right.
All right, let's see. So, Barry reveals, sorry, Barry, after a Big Belly Burger run with Felicity, which you'll know is also made in the Blue Beetle, by the way, in that trailer. They also have the Big Belly Burger.
That is literally the one cool thing about the Blue Beetle trailer for me.
Anyway, so he reveals the blood is clean. Oliver's just crazy right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's just hallucinating. So, let's see. So Arrow visits Quentin in the hospital. A little Dark Knight Rises-esque, which also
A little bit.
Yeah,
Oh God, Dragon! Again, that just goes back to like that moment in the Dark Knight Rises should have been way more dramatic than it was.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna build the whole teaser trailer off of it, that's all I'm saying.
That's true.
Anyways,
Gotta love that. I love the trailers for the Dark Knight Rises, though they were great.
that teaser was honestly probably the most effective teaser of the three. I would say the whole "he has to come back, he has to come back."
I mean, look, that was great. It's the third trailer of Dark Knight. I think it's the third trailer of Dark Knight Rises is like one of the best trailers I've ever seen.
It is very, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. All around, a very good. I mean, let's face it. Nolan, in general, just knows the man knows how to cut a trailer together.
He does.
Like, there's a reason why he actually does the editing on his trailers.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
Well, I mean, I didn't know. Are you
I'm
saying
pretty
he
sure it's
literally,
been that way since at least Inception. I want
like
to
he
say.
literally does the editing on the trailers? It's not just
I'm
he's
pretty
involved,
sure.
like
Yes.
he's actually doing the edit.
I mean, Dragon. Maybe it's not actually like him per se, but he does get final say.
Okay, so point being, he's like directly involved in trailer cutting.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right, let's see. So, so the Arrow visits Quentin in the hospital, which is a nice gesture. This is really a nice moment. Seriously, this is a really nice moment between the two of them, where the Green Arrow blames himself for this. Like his partner got killed in the ambush, and he says like, "Hey, I hate to break it to you, but not every death in the city's on you."
Dragon, if that was a Bruce Wayne line, that would totally be a great Conroy moment.
It would be.
Doesn't it feel like a great Conroy line?
It does. So let's see. So we have like
my nose so much too. My allergies are like randomly deciding to flare up. I'm sorry about that. I hope it's not too distracting.
right. Okay, so we have the lead with the key. Basically, the key is going to lead him to the big warehouse. Scene later. So
just a literal key.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I can't complain too much. The new Mission Impossible movie, that's literally the MacGuffin is just a key.
Yeah.
It's a cool two-piece key that you need both pieces to put together, but still, it's just the key. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
So we have a really great scene between Oliver and Diggle here, and this is a standard for the show. It's kind of the equivalent to the Barry and Joe scenes, you know. In Horse and the Flash, you'd have like the great father.
I kind of got the sense of that. Yeah, I kind of got the sense that there's a little bit of a Joe dynamic. Although, correct me if I'm wrong here, but like I feel like it's more so like a brotherly or kind of peer bond, more so than surrogate father-son.
Well, yeah, that's my point to you. So the arc
right.
For the whole series, the arc is that Diggle's brother got murdered, and Oliver they kind of found each other, and Oliver became his brother. Ultimately, it's kind of
okay. Got it.
It's absolutely a surrogate brother, kind of peer to surrogate to brother thing. So yeah. Anyway, now admittedly, things get really dumb when we do things with Diggle's brother. It's really stupid. But
oh no! Oh God! Does he come back from the dead?
Yeah.
How did I know?
It was bad.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
what is with the CW and just like they consistently, like the first.
Well, okay. To be fair, it's more like I think they faked his death in a really stupid, hackneyed way. It was a whole
Okay.
So not necessary. They had brought characters back from the dead using Lazarus pits, though, which actually does work.
I mean, to be fair, we do get a Raja Ghul name drop. I forget if it was in this episode or the scientist episode, but
it was the scientist.
That's what I thought. Okay.
they dropped his name, all right. Yeah. To be fair, he actually is really good when they introduce him in season 4.
That's what I heard. Yeah, wasn't he like one of the last really good things about the show before it went completely
Well, that's
to
what I'm
shit?
saying, Tiki. You know, again, you know how the pattern of the CW works. Each season, progressively, it's a little step down, but again, it adds on.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, though, dude, I couldn't make it past like the Flash season 2, episode 10, and that was not even when it started to really go downhill yet.
I think you were just interrupted. I don't think that was like a reflection on the show. I think you just kind of like got disrupted from your flow of binging.
Possibly, but I never had any sort of desire to go back. Anyways.
So, let's see. Okay.
I honestly think I was just kind of fed up with the Iris stuff at that point.
Maybe, if you do. Yeah, well, anyway. So Oliver's has this conversation with Diggle, who's asking if he's losing his mind. Well, no more than anyone else around here. So he tells Diggle about the hallucinations of Slade and Shadow, and he kind of compares it to his Afghanistan. Gives him the Afghanistan story where he also saw ghosts. And David Rams is such a good actor, by the way. How great is this Diggle actor?
He's pretty solid, definitely.
I'm saying he lays out this really nice grounded story about.
My favorite beat of this is where Oliver asks him, like what they told him. He's like, that's for me to hear, and you need to hear it from your own ghosts, essentially.
Yeah, so it's really good. Good sage advice from Mr. John Diggle.
Indeed.
All right, so Felicity, she begs Oliver not to go out because the last time she went up against this guy, he was half dead, and those odds are not good again.
Richard's Victim says the lead with the key sounds like a Nancy Drew novel. Yeah, that's kind of why I laughed at it a little bit. Not gonna lie. All right.
And so Roy breaks into, I believe, one of Blood's offices, and Blood's going to try to cover up evidence by setting it on fire. So basically, he's trying to uncover like the lead on the murder. Basically, he's been experimenting on people with Mirakuru, and they've been dying. So that's why he's been kidnapping vagrants and stuff off the street, like the Sid girl's friend. Anyway, so Roy gets caught, and he comes to, and they inject him with Mirakuru, which again will be kind of in season 2, kind of is the fill-in for kind of the drug addiction thing from the comics.
That's pretty much the vibe I got from it. Yeah,
the idea he has strength, but also it has kind of the thing he has to control. And it's a whole, it's kind of like a struggle for him to kind of deal with super strength, but also kind of like how dangerous that could possibly be.
Oh,
He's like there's a bit of a rage in there too, and that sort of thing. Because a rage monster, essentially.
Oh God.
But again, so that's kind of like their tantamount. So he's injecting Mirakuru by Brother Blood, and he's wearing the mask and everything. So you can tell just looking at him, with the Nolan influence, Brother Blood very much Scarecrow working for a Ra's al Ghul type.
I do like the mask, Dragon. I will admit that.
It is nice. It is.
I mean, honestly, I think it low key looks like it could serve as a Deathstroke mask.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. They're kind of like getting you
it's got some of the same sort of design motifs, right? Like it's kind of like vaguely Skull-esque.
Vaguely, but trust me, when they do the full-on Deathstroke mask, it looks really cool.
Oh, I believe you. I believe
it's a nice. You're right though. It's kind of a nice little given the fact that he's working for Deathstroke.
It's kind of like a little bit of a stepping stone to like the full Deathstroke mask, which I appreciated.
Let me tell you the coolest thing about just having Brother Blood in this period and with the mask and everything is the fact that, again, in the comics, both of them Teen Titans bad guys, Brother Blood and Deathstroke. So we kind of found a way to have them to eat in league with each other and kind of factored into this Green Arrow story. Yeah. Okay. So, Brother Blood's going on about his whole thing here. We're like, another failure where it seems that Roy, the idea is when you get injected by Mirakuru, you bleed from your eyes and you're either going to die or not die, and seemingly has died. So, the Green Arrow burst in there, and he's fighting Grundy. He's having his big rematch. It's pretty cool, but, he sees Roy dead. And I love the direction on this where Roy seemingly dies, and Oliver is just bereft, and he's like laying on the ground like he did right after. He did kind of the Ozymandias fall from Breaking Bad.
Right.
Trauma happened. Someone gets shot.
Moment in Breaking Bad, which will never be taken seriously again, thanks to the memes.
Sadly.
I know. I agree. I'm also irritated with that.
So it's a nice little parallel we have there. Oliver he's feeling really low. We visualize this rather well, and then he needs the ultimate pick me up, which is his pal Tommy.
Now, Dragon, I'm not gonna lie. I know this isn't Tommy Elliott, but I'm having a hard time separating it from Tommy Elliott. And I know that's a me problem and not a Joe problem, but like Tommy Elliott to me is like the de facto DC Tommy.
Yeah, so this is Tommy Merlin.
Okay.
So Tommy here, he was Oliver's best friend. They set up for ever since the first episode. He was all throughout season 1, and something bad happened to him.
I mean, that is one of the things. Again, with the after show stuff, kind of some of the context that I got is that this guy coming back was like a big fan favorite. Like, oh man, it's so good to see him again. I get the sense that maybe
it is really nice when Tommy comes back here and there. When they do like.
I got the sense that maybe he gets killed off dramatically in like the season finale in the flashback timeline.
Would you like
something like that?
You want me to confirm nor deny?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
It's sad too. It's the thing. It's very traumatizing for him.
I bet.
Yeah. It was a good moment, though. It was really good. So we have I guess in the so he's very much kind of like kind of Christmas present here in terms of the ghost role, and he's basically Oliver didn't get closure here. It was really just kind of like trying to express that he's sad that he couldn't save Tommy. He apologizes for failing him. He says, "You didn't fail me, Oliver. You fought to save me. You fight to survive. That's your whole shtick. Which is what is true, and deep down, Oliver knows, which is what's manifesting himself. You're not."
And then he says some season 1 stuff that I did not pick up on. I assume it's some sort of conflict where he's like, "I know I called you a murderer, but you're not." And I'm like, okay, that's some drama that I am not privy to.
Well, that's Tiki. The most interesting thing about Arrow, and season 1's built on this sort of thing. Season 1. It's not like Batman. Green Arrow kills people in the first season.
Okay.
That's the thing. So he has an arc of going away from like a vigilante that kills people.
Doesn't he pretty much like lay out as much during the intro? He's like, I used to kill people, but I can't anymore.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Because of Tommy. Tommy was the big like kind of like.
Okay. Interesting.
Tommy really inspired him, because this moment Tommy's like Tommy really was offended when finding out his friend's like a murderer, and he really kind of called him out. And then his last moments kind of like really affected him, like what he was doing with his life.
Gotcha.
So anyway, he says, you beat the island, you beat my father. Now get up.
Sorry, when he says you beat the island, Dragon, that again is a very, very, very Lost sentiment.
Yep.
Because Lost, like one of the big things with Lost, Dragon, is the fact that the island basically is a character unto itself.
Let me ask you something.
Anyways.
What do you think of the fight choreography? Because when he gets up and he beats the crap out of Cyrus Gold, I know you're not really into fighty, but just in terms of like.
No, I mean, just generally speaking, I think throughout the Arrow episodes I have seen, I do think they're pretty on point.
That was like a big deal for him in the early years. They had really good fight choreography.
I will say this much. I think the action in Arrow is more satisfying than the action in The Flash, just because obviously they're not trying to work in some of the crazier high concept effect stuff.
Yeah, you have to zoop everywhere and throw lightning.
Right.
Yeah. What's he going to do? Is he going to run fast again?
Run, Barry, run!
Good. All right. So he blows up. Anyway, so he's beating the tar out of Cyrus Gold. Now he's found his second win. And he then blows up this transformer that's nearby him. And then basically, not a transformer, he blows up the centrifuge, which has Mirakuru samples in it. Blows up in the guy's face, which basically, the setup here, and they never did anything with it, don't worry about it. It was just the fact that when it blew up, you'll notice it embedded into his face, and his face was turning kind of white. So the idea is he might not be dead. He might come back as like a Solomon Grundy-esque zombie, but they never went that far. Yeah. So anyway, Oliver saves Roy, kind of wakes him up and tells him, "Hey, come on, kid, you're strong. Wake up." So it's kind of him embracing the sidekick for a moment, and that kind of revives him. He's going to have a whole new set of problems now. He's going to have super strength and some rage issues. So again, Roy comes to in the bed. He does not tell Thea about the Mirakuru and what happened. That's kind of stuff that happens. They explore during the season. Let's see. So Blood is running for mayor officially now. He's getting ready to he's running for mayor, and he's reporting to the real boss, which leads to our huge reveal. Slade is alive. He's got an eye patch.
I do like how this is played with the eye patch and everything. He very much feels like a Bond villain here.
Yeah, and I think this is a really great and intimidating kind of reintroduction. This everyone lost their minds at this because everyone was kind of hoping like, well, we're dragging out this island stuff. He's going to become Deathstroke on the island, but the question is like, do we kill him? Do we not? Do we not kill him? And it's this thing of like, oh god, not only is he alive, he's back and he wants revenge, and he's looking really cool right now too. Like this is like reveal that he's been pulling all the strings for season 2 so far. He's literally keeping an eye on him.
Oh god, I'm so sorry.
So I love the whole calculating revenge here, where he says he's so calm and cool and collected despite the setback of like, you will use my blood to make more Mirakuru.
Right.
And then the whole thing of like, if you go after the vigilante again without my say so, it's like you will not go after the vigilante without my say so, and because your mask can be worn by another. Good line. And it's just like, you know who he is, don't you? I know exactly who he is, my friend. What death would be a release for him. He's got to suffer. Suffering. That's basically he wants to make him suffer and basically long for death before he's going to put him out of his misery. I'm going to take everything and everyone he cares about from. We think we do some direction stuff. You were cutting around to the loved ones who are going to be impacted. See Lance in the bed. We see everyone. Thea and Roy and everything. The people that follow him, they'll be destroyed. Everything he values, I'm going to take all that. I'm going to corrupt those he loves and everything. Once he's lost everything and everyone he loves and values, I'm going to drive an arrow through his eye.
What's the significance with the eye, by the way? Was that Oliver's fault?
Yeah. Basically, when things turn sour and they get into a big fight, Oliver he drives an arrow through his eye.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that's a set. Now, to be fair, they foreshadow like the mask. It always had like the one side was kind of like one color, so they've been building up for a long time that we'll have like the missing eye, but the full on like we're gonna actually give him the eye patch and like remove the eye and everything. It's gonna be brutal. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. So back to the flashback. So again, Slade, he gets his powers. He comes to and he kills a whole bunch of Ivo's men very brutally. He punches a guy right through the chest and there's blood on his fist. Oh boy. And he finds Shadow dead. He's very upset by this. And he's Sarah. Sarah defends Oliver here. She's like, he just shot her. Like, leaving out the fact it was a big, sadistic choice thing, which you can imagine is going to sour things later. Bit of a liar reveal thing.
Sure.
Okay, so back to the quiver. Let's see. Back to the quiver. Oliver tells the gang that I'm okay. Roy's been injecting Mirakuru though. Of course, he tells Diggle that he's preparing for war and everything, which is going to be bad. They're going to have to deal with that. And then we kind of end the episode on the Flash origin.
Yes. Now it's been a while since I've watched season 1. Obviously, Dragon. It's been probably I don't know, going on like 7-8 years at this point. I think. So is this retconned or what?
I mean, take it this. Here's the thing. When they did the Flash pilot, they reshot this scene. It is in there. It's verbatim. What I can't recall, and I have to rewatch.
Like he's not directly getting off the phone with Felicity when it happens in the show, right? That's the one thing I was kind of like, a little iffy on.
Well, that's what I'm getting at here is that I don't know when they reshot it if they kept that in there or not, because it would make sense for them to take that out. But then again, they do mention in passing that Felicity was concerned about her hearing that he was struck by lightning. So
I do remember that, actually. I do remember.
So based on that detail, it makes me think maybe they just kind of kept the scene in there. But because if you listen to the scene, there's nothing necessarily too conflicting about what's said in that scene. So they could, in theory,
Sure,
have kept
sure.
it. But again, I'd have to. Unfortunately, I've been kind of going through some. I've been going through it this week, so I have not been able to verify
Uh-huh.
that. But yeah, it's most likely reshot. I think you're probably right. I think they probably took it out for simplicity's sake. So the Flash, yeah, they basically have a lot of visual cues here to set up the whole deal with the Flash, and that he's become such a forensic scientist who investigates in the weird cases, the metahuman related cases, because a metahuman occurrence happened that framed his father and killed his mother, but he's never been able to prove it. So that's why he's the forensic scientist that he is, and then we kind of set up his murder board in private in the lab. He missed out on the attendance to the particle accelerator launch, but when it happens, he gets struck by lightning. Not just lightning, destiny lightning. All the
And
machinations.
I do like just like the red lightning bolts just searching through his body. It's very on the nose visually, but it works.
We don't do any stupid things like he's losing a tooth or anything, like in that stupid Ezra Miller Flash movie.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so then meanwhile we intercut that with Oliver. He gets his mask.
This is a really solid way to end, and also probably the best actual tie-in to Christmas that we have.
Yep, the Flash.
So I love the idea that Barry Allen actually gives Arrow his trademark domino mask dragon. That's a very neat idea.
And Diggle sums it up best. Oh, the Green Arrow, the Arrow should have a Christmas present.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
He puts it on. How does it look? How do I look? Like a hero. It's like, yeah, good on you, Oliver. He's becoming a hero.
That was a pretty fun way to end things out.
Yeah, it was nice.
Okay, so I mean, final thoughts, Dragon. Like I said, man, I swear to God, I might have put in more actual research time into this episode than any other episode of Christmas in July we've ever done. I tried to be as on top of like the actual lore of what was going on as I possibly could. Unfortunately, I think the bigger problem is just the fact that this is very, very much like, for all intents and purposes, unless I'm really not remembering something, this is definitely the least Christmas-centered episode of anything we've ever done on Christmas in July. I mean, I guess the only exception is maybe like the Hanukkah specials that we've covered, the Kwanzaa episode of Proud Family, like where we're literally just not talking about Christmas.
Well, yeah, it's a seasonal thing, though.
So. Right. All right. Final thoughts on your end?
The final thoughts of mine. Look, this is a really good episode of Arrow. I feel, admittedly, when you look back on it, it's like, yeah, it was very much, they have a lot of contextual things. So I'm glad I told you to watch The Scientist before it. But yeah, it's a little like, again, I could have sworn the ending of this one involved like that whole. I thought it was like a Christmas party they went to instead of just a party. With Felicity and Barry on had a little moment. But yeah, it is. Solid episode as far as Christmas goes. I mean, I do like the three ghost structure. I do like it. I like what it kind of says about them. I like it's kind of. We found a way of like, and honestly, the main reason I recommended this one, and maybe it was kind of leaning towards doing this one versus the other one, is that this one, it does fit into what we've done so often in our pitches, which we're saving for seasonal shenanigans this year. But it's kind of what we do all the time in our pitches, in which we would I know at least I did, we would attach like a Christmas Carol kind of structure there. And this is the kind of thing that I would, when I would pitch this sort of thing, it would be this, where it'd be kind of based on this.
This does feel specifically like one of your pitches. Yeah.
Yeah. Where, the whole psychological kind of three ghost structures. I love the psychological three ghost structure. I think it works, especially for the holidays, especially if you do a show that's not necessarily like a built holiday show. I mean, that's a natural way of doing that story. Admittedly, I think our window dressing could have been more Christmassy. It would have helped us out.
Yeah.
But I don't know. At the end of the day, I do like that we kind of tie in like the little Christmas gift, like a big. We have our milestones, but we do have kind of like the backdrop of Christmas. So it's kind of like the Lethal Weapons or the Die Hards of the world, where it's like Christmas is there, and it's tied in, but in this case, maybe not as heavily as those iconic examples. I don't know. It's just kind of. It's a solid special. Big events happen, kind of like the heights of Arrow in terms of like reveals and stuff. But no, it was good. It's good, but not super Christmassy. I don't know what to tell you.
So speaking of which, let's get through the limited tropes that we do have.
Yes.
Christmas tree.
Yes.
Actually, here's something. I don't even think we really brought it up, but just the whole idea that, like, you know, like foregoing a proper Christmas celebration because there's so much shit going on in your real life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's kind of a trope unto itself.
We have the rich man's Christmas balls.
Yes, we don't really see any of them, but they're...
Oh, no, we saw them in a little bowl on the table.
Oh, the balls. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about, like, dances.
No,
Okay,
no,
yes.
like literal balls. Like little, like, you know, it's
yes,
like,
you're right. We do have literal Christmas balls, yes.
Yes, let's see. Okay, we have Christmas shopping. And then we had stakes attached to the Christmas shopping.
Christmas shopping tension.
Family member in
the hospital, yeah.
Member in the hospital around the holidays. Holiday hospital visit.
Of course, the three ghost structure, the Christmas Carol structure of it all.
Yep. Let's see. We have a mention of Judaism around the holidays.
Sure.
And I know the last one is the Christmas gift of the mask.
Here's one.
The trope being the obligatory holiday gift and
sure.
So we have that.
Also, maybe just like some fun will they won't they tension around the holidays.
There you go. Yeah, a little bit of that.
All right.
You did thank the folks, right?
Yeah, really quick. Just Richard's victims as well as Kogias. I think those were the only two that popped in. Really appreciate you guys as always. All right,
Tiki. It just occurs to me, after 10 long years, we need to look back on things, and we need to evaluate the way that we've done things before. Because year after year, we reach this point where we don't have a name for this process, as brief as it may have been. When we have a situation like this, we still got to revel in our tropes. We gotta analyze them. We gotta break them down like a forensic scientist that with really fast running shoes would. We gotta break it down. We need a title that has just escaped us for so long, but can, by the same token, be something else. Tiki, we need it to be something else. We need a title that's going to be dramatic. It's going to shake people out of apathy. We need something catchy, something that's going to sound a lot better. It's going to be like transition from Starling City to Star City. We need something catchy, something you put on a bumper sticker, something that would look good if you put on a bumper sticker, even in the sweltering hot summer months. Something that just kind of screams Christmas in July. Something. But we need, we need something good. Do you have anything good, man? Or we just are we gonna have to cheap out on this because it's such a sparse parsley special? If we had something made it looked a little like parsley, but had maybe some Christmas balls attached to it that we could put under a scientific device of some kind and just crank it up past 11, dare I say, to see what goes into the bonds and atoms and structures that go into a good holiday special that clearly has escaped us for this one, but still just something that we could, for perpetuity's sake, something we could kind of juice things up so we don't end up in a situation like this. What would we call that process? You got anything? Because I got nothing. I got buckets. But the oil is dried up in the lantern, man. I got nothing.
What about putting the mistletoe underneath the microscope? Barry Allen is a scientist, after all.
Let's run with it.
All right. On the next Christmas in July.
La 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 la. Dun 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 dun.